10, but I was going like 2 miles per hour.
Okay,
So
they're okay.
they're fine. They were just a little upset. And I'm like, I'm so sorry.
As they should be.
But when you mentioned like the brushing your teeth, sometimes she likes to try and like weasel her way out of that. She despises the word snaggatoo. So I'm just like, do you want to be snaggatoo?
She's probably like, God, no.
I mean, all right, welcome back, guys, to the Getting It Wrong podcast. I'm Gabrielle.
I'm Morgan.
And we are here to create a safe space where you are free to get it wrong, because getting it wrong is the first step to getting it right. And today we are going to, I don't want to introduce the topic yet. I want us to recap on what we talked about last time.
Right.
Okay. So what did we talk about last time, Morgan?
Well, okay, so last time we talked about music and how people listen to music, but the time before that I think we should really recap on is discipline. We talked about discipline and how to make sure you're getting that right, and if people are getting that wrong. So I feel like there are ebbs and flows, and I'm back in the lower end of it. I'm not as disciplined right now.
Okay.
And you would think, and I'm just listening to my body. I'm understanding where I'm at and knowing that I will get back to a good place. But I think what we really took away from it was there are times where you're going to be more disciplined than others, and just making sure you're balancing it out is important. And while I know I'm like on the less disciplined, side of the spectrum at this moment, I know that I'm going to get myself back on track. So I'm not worried.
That's real. Yeah.
But I do know I'm self-aware, but not worried.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's very real. To be able to see and notice, take notes, but not necessarily take action at this moment because you're listening to your body. That's important.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. For me, I'm in an in-between. It's a little strange. It's like I am disciplined, but also resting at the same time, if that makes sense. For example, I'm running a 5K tomorrow. I've been, thanks. I don't know if I've ever mentioned it on this podcast before, but I did used to run cross country. So 5Ks, I used to be able to do those in my sleep.
Okay.
But recently, I haven't really ran like that since high school, college. Yeah. So it's been a struggle trying to get back into that mode of like running long distance endurance running, like without stopping and walking. Okay. So that is something that I've been working on and been fairly disciplined in trying to do that. I've been running all week. Have I ran the whole 3 miles without stopping? Not yet.
Okay. All right. That's okay.
But I'm going to do my best tomorrow, and I will keep you guys updated.
I love it. I love that you're even taking that step. And yeah, I know you can do it. I'm sure you'll do great. But good for you for taking that step. That's super exciting. What's the 5K for? Don't they usually have like a...
Yes, that is a great question. I completely forgot. It has two... It's representing two things. One of them is a very serious, like for a cause, and the other one is like based off of like Star Wars. And of course, I remember the Star Wars part and not the actual cause. I apologize. But I'll look at that maybe at a later time. And when I come back to update you guys, I'll let you know.
Yes, let us know next week. We want to know. Okay. All right. So do you want to introduce our topic?
Well, we didn't recap on the music.
Oh, okay. What do you want to say about the music?
I mean, I just want to say that I am still listening to Cowboy Carter.
Okay, period.
And I'm catching things that I didn't catch the first time. It's really a work of art. So I don't want to get too deep into it, but my faves are still my faves. Bodyguard, American Requiem, Two Most Wanted, Two Hands to Heaven, Daughter, Protector. I find I keep going, I'm probably going to name every
That, that
song on the
sound like
album.
that sound like almost all of them.
That was half right
So you
there.
just you're liking it even more and more is what it sounds
Yes.
like. I think that's same goes for me. I yeah. Cause it takes me a second to like really start feeling something. But yeah, Beyonce got me singing opera in my car and I love it.
Oh my gosh. The opera, I can't get over it. I cannot.
Right.
Also, some songs that I said I wasn't really feeling at first, I'm feeling a little bit now.
Okay.
The one that she did with Post Malone, I like that one now, you know.
Oh, okay. I
Um,
remember you weren't feeling it, feeling it. You were like, it's
yeah, I'm like, it
Beyonce,
was
so
cool,
it's
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 cute.
hot, but like,
Yeah. But no, I get it now. Like
okay.
I'm sorry, alligator tears. I'm gonna keep going. Um, I'll stop. I'm sorry, I'll stop. We can go ahead and introduce the topic.
Okay, so this topic is really, really for the parents. If you don't have kids, I feel like you can find some, I feel like you can still find some use for this, but we are talking about boundaries with kids. It's a book written by Henry Cloud. And yeah,
Dr. Henry Cloud and Dr. John Townsend. I don't wanna forget
let's
the
not
second
play the
person.
Dr. John Townsend. Excuse us.
Yes.
No.
And if I can say something, we did in our previous season do an episode on boundaries, but it was more of boundaries for adults type of book. And this is by the same authors.
Mhm.
And it's focused more on boundaries with children, with kids. But I do want to say, as I was reading and listening to the audiobook, I needed to hear everything that they said about
Mm,
boundaries with kids because some things you just miss growing up because
okay.
your parents can't teach you everything.
Yeah.
And when I was listening to some of these boundaries, I was like, I need that. I needed this. And I can
Mm,
implement
mm,
this with my child and myself. And it felt so powerful to me being able to learn things that I didn't even know I needed to know.
okay.
So it was very powerful for me. And I can't wait to get started and share what we've learned.
Absolutely. I love it. Yes. And then, so yeah, I love that you said there are things you didn't even know that you needed to know. And I feel like that brings us into what do we think people get wrong when it comes to boundaries with kids?
Are you asking me?
I am. I'm asking me and you.
Okay. Because I don't know if I can answer that question without getting started and just going through my
Okay.
whole spiel.
Let's try and do lightly. Let's try
Okay.
lightly to just hop into what we think people get wrong when it comes to boundaries.
So, what do people get wrong when it comes to kids? Specifically, um, teaching children that they can't do it all.
Mm,
And I say that because when you're growing up, at least when I was growing up, I was always told that I can do anything, which
mm-hmm.
on the surface sounds like something very positive, which I believe that it is, especially as a person of color, a Black
Mm-hmm.
woman growing up, a Black girl growing up in the world that we live in. It is imperative that you instill confidence in your children.
Yeah.
But there are boundaries that need to be put in place to make sure that your child grows up knowing that they cannot do it all.
Mm.
So that's what I'm going to be talking about today. What about you?
Okay, so I think I kind of dove into like a different aspect of it, but I think people just in general, I think people what people get wrong with like parenting is parenting for convenience and disciplining for like the purpose of seeing certain behaviors. So
Yes.
you're parenting so that you're because it's inconvenient for your kids to cry loudly in the store. So you're disciplining them because they're loud instead of teaching them to regulate their emotions so they become better adults.
Mm-hmm.
Or, you're just teaching kids that that kind of idea where they're like you want them to like do what you say just because it's convenient. It is convenient when kids are
Yes.
just disciplined and they do what parents say. And sometimes it's helpful too because in certain circumstances, kids doing what you say keeps them safe. You know,
Yes.
but I don't think that that's the end goal is to just have obedient kids, you
I
know.
completely agree. All right. Did you want to get started first or me?
I'll start. I'll start. Um, so some of the things that I got from it, one of the things that stuck out for me was when he mentioned like discipline is designed to develop internal boundaries with kids. And basically the goal is to make sure that your children develop these boundaries for themselves and that they become high functioning adults that can make good decisions because they already have this structure in place from when they were children. You think about like when we were children, we we talked about this like last episode, I think, um, in the discipline episode. When we
Hmm.
were younger and we had structure in place, you felt like it flowed better. But then once you became an adult and you can just make the decisions by like for yourself, it kind of like altered things a little because when you're an adult, you realize that as a kid, you just did what your parents wanted you to do because they said do it. But then when you grow up, you're like, oh, I should have been doing this because it benefits my life, you know? And
Yes.
there's like a moment where that changes. But when you're creating boundaries with children, to an extent, and we'll kind of get to it, but like to an extent, it helps them create that idea that your consequences have actions and making sure that you are making decisions so that your outcome is better in the long run, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yes. Your actions have consequences. I
Exactly.
I think you said it backwards, but who's gonna check you?
Come on. But you get it. You get
Yes.
it.
Hmm.
Okay. So, like, do you feel like there were any points in your life growing up where you realized that, man, if I had gotten this down packed when I was a kid, it would have benefit me so much as an adult?
Yes, definitely, for sure. One of them I'm going to be diving really deep into that I mentioned
Mm,
before, and the
okay.
I cannot do it all
Mm,
boundary.
yeah,
But I don't want to get into that one too deep.
right.
Let me see if I can think of another one because that's a great question. Um, hmm, something, a boundary that I wish I would have gotten when I was younger. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. You go first and come back to me.
Dang, I didn't think of one ahead of time either, but I know there are so many.
That's
I was like, I'm gonna
hilarious.
ask Gabby. She's gonna think
Okay.
of one. No, but I feel
Because I
like
do
there are so
have
many.
one, but I don't want to get too deep into it. That's the thing.
Mm,
Um,
I thought of one too. I thought of one.
okay, let's go.
So I wouldn't say it's a boundary, but I think to this day I struggle with time management.
Ooh, that's
And
what I'm about to dive into today.
is
I
it?
can't wait. Yeah.
I struggle so much with time management. And I think, okay, I do see how you were getting to it, but like I feel like I am forever like 10 minutes late everywhere. And it's
Hmm.
specifically 10 minutes late everywhere. You know, like to work, to
I won't tell
because
anybody.
they ain't clocked me yet. To work, yeah, like to church, to weddings, to it, you name it, 10 minutes late with my kid, without my kid. So I feel like, and I'm kind of gonna get to this too, but like I feel like if I, as a child, knew that there were consequences for my actions, and basically, if I had tied that to consequences, when I was a child, I probably would have had more time to practice, in a sense, the timeliness. Does that make sense? So that would be one thing. I
Yes.
mean, I feel like at school, if you're tardy in class or something, I mean, that
Mhm.
there was that, but I was never really tardy to class.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
It sounds like you have excellent time management because the fact that you're exactly 10 minutes late every time,
It's like,
that's
did I ever want to? Dang, my mic keeps falling. Did I ever want to get there on time? Or was I always
because
planning to be 10 minutes late?
I
That's the
think
real
you're
question.
always planning to be 10 minutes late because that sounds like excellent time because that's not an easy thing to do.
Girl,
Be exactly 10 minutes late everywhere.
we're gonna have to figure out what's
Okay.
going on. I
Okay.
said we.
I
I gotta figure out what's up with that. I'll be trying, I promise.
understand. And it's back to me. I spent all that time talking and did not come up with enough a boundary. um, let me see. A boundary that I had that I wish I would have had growing up probably would have been when you know what? The one that I have is all that I've got. So let's keep going.
Okay, it's time management, but she's not gonna get into it deep. So time
Okay.
management, we get it. We'll get to it more later. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll do that. But okay, so the next thing is like the idea, and we kind of got into this a little bit, is tying consequences with their action, because he basically explained that children, and he also explained this in a podcast, and that's kind of more so where I'm pulling this from. But children, if you tell them to go brush their teeth, they literally do not care about brushing their teeth. They have no will. They don't care about having dirty mouths, or stinky breath. Like, you have to kind of build that into for them. And it's funny because like I tell my daughter, she'll be like, what's the difference between like being a kid and an adult? Basically, I make the consequences for your actions right now. But when you're an adult, life makes the consequences for your actions. If you don't pay your rent, you're homeless. But like when
True.
you're a kid, if you don't brush your teeth, your mom yells at you about brushing your teeth. Obviously, we don't yell, but we do yell, but we try not to yell. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe sometimes.
But yeah, so it's like you're tying those consequences to actions, and it gives them the practice of knowing that there are reasons why I do things, and there are consequences. So for my daughter, I tell her, like, if you don't brush your teeth and do your bedtime routine on time, you won't have story time. You won't have enough time for story time. And it forces her to kind of create some time management. Okay, let me make sure I'm staying on track. Let me make sure I'm doing what I have to do. If I don't, I'm going to miss out on something that I like to do because I ran out of time at the end of the night. So just tying those consequences with actions for children so that they have that practice already when they're adults. So, is there anything that you do for your daughter that you like know you have to tie a consequence to her action?
Uh, yes. With basically with everything, honestly,
No,
because
for
I
real.
feel like children need some type of motivation or to tie something to it to make it make sense to them in order for them
Mm-hmm.
to do it consistently and constantly. Because I created, so I have another YouTube channel, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
created a list, like a morning list and a PM list, basically a schedule
Yes.
to complete in the morning and in the night every single
Mm-hmm.
day so she can get that consistency.
Yeah.
But what I realized recently is that the schedule is not enough. Just
Mm-hmm.
having the schedule, it's not enough. I have to make the schedule make sense to her
Okay.
because I even added play on the schedule, just like,
That's smart.
yeah, so she would know that, okay, if you complete all these steps,
Mm-hmm.
then the next step is play. You can't wake up and just start playing.
Yes.
Like you have to complete all of these steps
Mm-hmm.
and then you can play. So that does help. But when you mention like the brushing your teeth, sometimes she likes to try and like weasel her way out of that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I always tell her, if you don't brush your teeth, they will rot and you'll be snaggletooth. She really does not like that word. She
I remember you told me that.
despises the word snaggletooth. So I'm just like, do you want to be snaggletooth?
She's probably like, God, no.
I mean, and it's the truth. I'm not making this up.
No,
If you don't brush your teeth, they will fall out.
they will.
So, and just putting it in a way that makes sense to them
Mm-hmm.
and provides them with some intrinsic motivation to be able to do those things. Like that's really important. I'm glad you brought that up.
Mm-hmm. No, and I think you even took it a step further, and they do talk about this too. Like you don't, and obviously, it's good to like tie a consequence to it, but in addition to that, you gave her a reasoning, and that communication with the kids is still important. So even though we're like creating the consequences in a sense, giving them like an explanation, like I'm not just telling you to do this or else you'll lose your book time, or I'm not just trying to scare you about not having teeth. Like you actually explain to them there's a reason. I'm not just being a tyrant. um we're in constant communication so you understand. And I love it because it gives them a chance to also like negotiate in a sense, which is what they need to do as adults too. Because
Mm-hmm.
my daughter, she will. The one thing about it, she loves negotiating. She's like, well, if that's the reason, then I think there's a way around it where we both get what we want. And in a sense, she's like, I'm gonna think it up. And I'm like,
Yes.
I didn't think about that. I just wanted it to be how I wanted it, but okay.
You got to think on your toes when dealing with children, but it's smart. That is a good skill for them to have, negotiating and making sure
Mm-hmm.
everyone can get what they want. Like that's top tier parenting right
Exactly.
there.
Girl. But to my last point, and we're gonna let you take it away. Um, one more thing is that like once you give them consequences, make sure you don't get your emotions involved, because it it can get so exhausting telling them the same things over and over, but you're leaving it to it's creating responsibility. So once my daughter doesn't have book time and she spent all of that time, I'm not going to go and put my all of my emotions into it and say like, you don't get book time and blah, blah. I'm just like, it's very matter of fact. It's very frank. You don't have book time. This was your choice. And it creates a sense of responsibility. It's really just out of my hands. And I like that point because it's like, it's out of my hands. Like it's beyond me. It's
Exactly.
above
It's like
me.
I told you
You
that if
chose
you didn't
this.
do this, this would happen, and
This is your
you
your
made the choice.
responsibility, your choice. And I just love that point because I like to put it on her because I'm like, you made this decision. Don't get mad at mommy. I tried. I tried to remind you. I tried to warn you. So just yeah, creating that sense of responsibility, making sure you're not putting all your emotions into it because it's their choice and you want them to be high functioning adults one day that can make good decisions. So, okay.
Yes. And I love that last point about not putting your emotions in it.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you were to blow up at the kid, and I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, they would tie that to, oh, if
Yes.
I don't do this, mommy will be mad at me. And I don't want mommy to be mad at me. So that's why I'm going to do this instead of
Exactly.
actually doing it because it's something that they need to do.
And that's not the point. It's not about because that creates like what do you call it? Like childhood trauma. And it's like they become people pleasers. They're like, I don't want my
Yes,
mommy to be mad, so I'm doing things to make her happy instead of I want to have a good life. I want to have my life look a certain way, so I need to make good choices and good decisions. It's yeah, so much healthier. But we
so
forget
much.
sometimes. We
Yes,
forget sometimes, and that's okay. But you want to get back to it, you know?
exactly. As long as they have that foundation, because even as adults, we fall short.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we people please, sometimes we put our emotions into it, sometimes we do this, we do that. But as long as they have the foundation, they
Yeah,
know where they need to go back to. They can see where they failed and correct it.
exactly.
So,
Mm-hmm.
And one of the key points that I'm going to be talking about today is basically answering Morgan's question earlier when she asked,
Yeah.
are there any boundaries that I wish I would have had as a kid that affect the way that I live now? And the answer is yes. It is the boundary of realizing that I cannot do it all.
Mm-hmm.
Because as kids, we're born with these grandiose ideas of we can do anything, we can do everything. There's no boundaries, there's no limits, which
Mm-hmm.
is an amazing way to think, right? That's beautiful. There's nothing holding them back.
Right.
And honestly, as an adult, I feel like I struggle with this still because, like I said, it's not something that I was always told that I could do anything, and I
Mm-hmm.
internalized that to the fullest.
Come on.
Nobody can stop me.
Yeah.
Um, but at the same time, it has the pros to that and the cons if you don't have boundaries when it comes to that type of
Yep.
thinking.
Mm-hmm.
It is something that I have unconsciously been working on, and something that I realized that I've worked on throughout my life, but I have noticed that in my adulthood, it is something that I still need to do a little bit of work on, if that makes
Fair.
sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So to dive more into it, children, they want to be more powerful. They want to be more independent. The author told a story about when he was younger, he read this book and it just made him, and he was frustrated and it just made him want to run away from home. So he packed his stuff up, he left the house, and then it started to get dark. And he was starting to hear noises.
I bet.
And, and then he was like, he realized he needed to go home to his parents,
Yeah.
basically.
Right.
So, but as a kid, it's like you don't want to feel like you're dependent on someone, but you need to
Mhm.
teach them that they have power over things and that they
Right.
don't have power over other things.
Okay.
So, like, so in this story, he did not have the power over needing his family, but he did have power over how he felt about the
Mm.
whole situation.
Okay.
So, so the purpose of creating this boundary is because mature people invest in what they have power over and let
Mm.
go of what they don't have power over.
Okay.
And this is going to tie into time management a little bit too. It's going to come in a little bit later. Actually,
Clearly, I need this.
I'm going to bring it in right now because children, like I said before, think they can do everything they put their mind to, which I think is true to a certain extent,
Yeah.
but you need boundaries to be a little bit realistic. So, for example, they would create a crazy schedule like 7 a.m. this, 8 a.m. this, 9 a.m. this, 10 a.m. this. And it's like not even scheduling in time to like take a break.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically overcommitting yourself. And
Yeah.
that's the boundary problem. You're overcommitting. And
Yep.
more than likely, you're going to fall short because you set yourself an unrealistic timeline. Of course, you're going to be late. You said you're going to go to work, then go bowling, then go out for drinks, then cook dinner, then like no, you only have a
Girl.
certain amount of energy in a day. And it's important to teach children this when they're young, or they're going to be grown adults overcommitting and always being late and always
Mm.
people. I feel like that becomes a people pleasing problem as well. It's like,
Mm.
I feel like the time portion is what I struggle with the most. When people want me to come to events, I feel supported when people come to my events, right?
Yeah.
So I love showing up for other people and I tend to overcommit myself. That's my issue. And
Mm-hmm.
I think it was like last year, it got to a point where I was like kind of stressed trying to show up for everyone, but I was still
Yeah.
trying to do it because that's how I wanted to show my love and support. However, if it's becoming a detriment to my health,
Yep.
my sleep, like that, a boundary needs to be set.
Exactly. And telling people no that you can't show up, it doesn't necessarily make you a bad friend. If you have a prior
Exactly.
commitment, so tying that no to like not being a good friend and not showing up, that's not always true. So that's,
Exactly.
yeah.
And that's that was something that I've been working through. I've been doing
Yeah,
very good this year, but last
that's
year
good.
that was what I was struggling with.
Mhm.
But God has healed my heart a little
Come
bit, and
on.
I
Come on,
seriously,
breakthrough delivered.
yes, God has healed my heart, and I've been able to
Yeah.
still show up sometimes and still be able to say no and not feel like I'm being a terrible person and not
Mhm.
showing up for the people that I care
That's good.
about. Um, yeah, I was going scratch it. Um, yeah, because you don't want to feel rushed. You
Yeah,
don't want to have overcommitting also provides you with shallow experiences. That's something that I was
that's
struggling with
true.
too. It's like you can't really fully be in the moment if you're constantly thinking about what you're about to dive into
Yeah.
next.
Yep.
So
And it's
that's an
like,
issue.
you know that it's not, I can't think of the phrase, but I remember hearing somebody say, like, you can't, I can't think of the phrase, but I know the idea is that, like, basically spreading yourself thin, you're giving, would you rather, like, give 2% to, oh, I tried to do math, 2% to 50 people, or give
Mhm.
100% to one person? And it's like, it, people don't want your 2%. You gotta, don't spread yourself so thin, you know?
Yes, yes. And I'm doing way better with that this year. I'm very
Hmm.
thankful. And I feel like this point came right in time because I feel like a lot of people struggle with this.
Yeah.
Not even just myself. I see it once I was able to heal it within myself, I was able to see it
And other people.
around me. Yes, I was able to see
Yeah.
it in other people.
Yeah. Hmm.
But there's a solution. And I
Okay.
was really deep into the solution. I was like, not even learning specifically to teach to a child. I was like, teach it to me. I need to know.
For real. For real. Because how you gonna teach her if you don't know?
Exactly, exactly.
Come
So the solution is basically to give your child the freedom to choose their schedule, but
on.
having boundaries
Yeah.
within that. For example, in the book, they gave an example about a teen. So let's say that you let them choose what they want to do. However, there's boundaries, as in like their grades need to be above a certain level.
Okay.
They need to be home 4 nights a week. They
Mm.
need to be in bed by a certain time, and they need to not be showing signs of fatigue or stress.
They're gonna be
So,
hiding it. I'm not tired.
right, but that's
No.
okay. No, that's okay because it's like you're giving the child enough rope to hang themselves so they can
Yikes.
choose. So it's like they might be hiding stress, but after a while they're going to be like, this is too much. Something's got to
Amen.
go.
Come on.
Something has got to go. And I'm going to give an example of myself when I was in college.
Okay.
So the idea that I can do it all, I had that deep into my spirit. I was
Wow.
taking 18 credit hours in college.
Yeah.
18. And not only was I taking 18 credit hours, I was a part of like 3 different clubs. I played a sport and I worked part time. And I was also taking organic chemistry.
No, ma'am.
18 credit hours and organic chemistry being one of those is already insane within itself.
You're out of your mind. I already know. I've never taken that class and I know.
So that was completely unrealistic. But for some reason, I guess because I just did not have that boundary, I thought I could do it. And let me say something really quickly. I feel like I would not have had issues with this boundary if I didn't actually do. I feel like I've had so
You're like, I did it.
many. Yeah, it's like I've done so many things that
Mm.
I put my mind to. I'm like, so it's kind of hard not to have that unrealistic expectation. But when I do think back about the things that I did do, it's like, yes, you did do it, but at
Yep.
what cost?
At what cost? That's the thing. That's key. Yeah.
But at what
Because you're like,
cost?
how sane was I? Yeah, girl.
Not very. And especially
Exactly.
taking those 18 credit hours, I was stressed out. I was so stressed. I'm like, should I say this on the podcast? I mean, it's over and done with. She's perfectly fine. But I was so stressed that when I was backing out of my parking spot, leaving my organic chemistry class crying because I felt like I wasn't going to pass, I accidentally hit someone.
Oh God. I was about to say, you hit a person? I
I
hit a
did hit a
person.
person, but I was going like 2 miles per hour.
Okay, they're
So
okay.
they're fine. They were just a little upset, and I'm so sorry.
As they should be.
Yes,
That
yes,
took me out, not them being a little bit upset.
but
Okay,
yes, and that's fine. I took full responsibility,
that's hilarious.
and it was at that point that I knew that I had to drop a class or something because I'm like I'm not only a danger to myself, I'm becoming a danger to others.
That's key.
So I've got to do something. So I ended up dropping organic chemistry. It hurt, but it also helped me learn a lesson that I
Mm-hmm.
cannot do it all. It helped me
Okay.
learn that lesson. Another solution that can help with setting boundaries with children, knowing that they cannot do it all, is teaching them how to rely on others.
Ooh, that's good.
Because a lot that is something that I
Mm-hmm.
know a lot of people that have struggled with that, and me as
Yeah.
well. I have definitely been leaning more into getting support from my network. But that is
Mm-hmm.
something that I had struggled a lot with in
Mm-hmm.
the past. Um, for example, you can teach your child by doing this by even asking how their day was. You know, the standard answer. Okay, it was
Right.
good, fine. But I mean, you can't let them leave it at that
Right.
because that feeds into their illusion of like not needing others.
Mm.
You can tell them that, I'm not trying to lecture you or anything. I just want to know how your day was. Or you could ask questions that don't require a one word answer.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, my daughter went on a field trip, and instead of just asking, how was the field trip? And her being like, good.
Yeah.
We were like, so what was your favorite part of the
Right.
field trip? It required a little bit more elaboration.
Yeah.
And it was something that she was excited to share because
Yeah.
her favorite part. And her favorite part was learning how to roller skate without
Aw,
the
good for
little
her.
roller. It looks like
Assisted
an old lady
walker.
assisted cane walker. Yeah.
Yes, that's funny. Oh, good
Yeah.
for
So,
her. That's hard. I'll
right.
still
I'm
be touching the wall.
like, okay. I'm like, kids, they learn how to do things and you have nothing to do with it, but I'll take credit. Yes, my baby knows how to roller skate.
I love it.
So yes, learning how to rely on others because we are relational beings. We cannot live in isolation. And just a mature, healthy person
Mhm.
understands that and is able to reach out when necessary. Instead of when you're going through hard things, you can't just
Yeah.
isolate.
Oh my goodness. We all need that. Like,
Yeah.
woo, I feel like just like you said, these are good for you, but like all of the ones you said so far, I'm like, dang, I need to do that in adulthood.
Yes.
Oh, and taking a
Yes.
step back, not to get us too much off track, but like I
Hmm.
love the asking questions one, like how their day went because I got like a list of good questions, and so far the one I get the most feedback on
Ooh.
is when I ask who got in trouble today at school.
Oh my gosh.
Girl, when I say I started getting all the tea, because I used to get the, oh yeah, it was good. Everybody's nice. And now I started asking, so what was your favorite thing you ate today at school? And I get a little feedback from that. And then I also ask like, who got in trouble? I started getting tea.
She was
I
like,
love
this
it.
person, this person, this person,
Somebody got
and
pushed down the stairs, and now
this person
somebody's at the
wasn't even in my
principal.
class, but I know.
Because they be knowing. I love it. So you start getting all the, yes, I love it.
Interesting. I'm gonna try that and I'm gonna let you guys know if I get any feedback.
Yeah.
Actually, if you guys are watching on YouTube or if there's a way you can comment, if you have children, ask them who got in trouble today at school and let us know what they say.
You
Let
would
us
be
know if you get
shocked.
some good feedback.
Yeah. You're gonna be shocked. You're gonna find out if your kid's a little gossipy or not. It's
It's
okay.
okay. We love to share information.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so overall, like it's the parents' job to teach the
Mhm.
children, what they have power over and what they don't have power over. And what they need and what they I was going to say what they need and what they don't need, but that's not exactly what I was trying to say. What I am trying to say is that in order to understand that they cannot do it all,
Mm-hmm.
you need to be able to let them do what they can, but give them boundaries.
Yeah.
Because if you give them enough rope, like I said earlier, to possibly fall off, it'll be their
Mm-hmm.
decision to come back because they know that they need to meet those certain parameters.
That's key. That's the one because they have to fall in order to like even ask for help to get picked back up. So I like that one. That's key.
Yes. And so I want to end everything by saying that we want to teach our children that they have power over themselves. They don't have the power to live without others, but they do
Mm-hmm.
have the power to choose who they depend on.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something we can help them learn too, like who to figure out who they can depend on, how they can figure out who they can depend on. They don't have the power to do whatever they desire, but they do have the power to do whatever they can.
Yeah.
They don't have the power to avoid failure, but they do have the power to accept failure, to learn, and improve. And that's what this podcast is all about.
I love that. That's what exactly. That's so true. Like we are learning to accept failure. Well, we're learning to yeah, like you said, accept failure and then learn from it and get better. That's exactly what we're trying to do here. Like it's okay to
Yes.
fail. I love it.
And everything that I just said is what we feel like people get wrong when it comes to boundaries with children.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
All right. Thank you all for listening. We could talk to you guys all night, but we're going to sleep.
Amen. Amen.
Good night.